Hello and welcome to episode 123 of the Boot Nerds podcast. JayMike, what's going on?
I'm not too bad, my friend. It sounds like we were just talking before we got started. It sounds like you are in a bit of a situation, a mosquito situation.
I am. So if you're watching the video form of this podcast, if I'm noticeably fidgety behind the microphone today, it's because I probably have a good 40 to 50 mosquito bites on my calves and shins.
Right.
Went to the pitch yesterday and the mosquitoes were not having it. They weren't happy about it.
Okay.
But it was fun. I went with my buddy and we decided to basically play butts up with in a series of competitions.
Oh.
And of course we want to stand like 10 yards away. So it's very close range. And it was just, it got to a point where it was dangerous. Like I was genuinely concerned about his safety at one point in time.
Did you cup and tuck and cover the important parts?
Really get low. You really get as low as possible. Make yourself nice and small, almost like cannonball position on the line.
Yeah.
But luckily, no one got hit with any of the big ones. But just a very, very scary game when it's one-on-one.
It's not very nice. No.
But you know what? If you really want like a cheap adrenaline rush, that is probably one of the best ways to get it.
I mean, you can also go out to the kitchen table, take a hammer, and just start. It's not a very good idea. I bet you that's an adrenaline rush as well. I haven't tried the hammer thing, but I don't. Where did that come from? That was.
I don't know,
weird.
Jay. I don't know.
Anyways, Josh, today we are talking about on popular demand. We're talking about all the SL models that brands have made throughout time. And we are 100% going to forget boots because there have been quite a lot. And there will also be boots, full disclosure, that we don't have. We're going to show an image of them on screen and we're going to discuss them. And we will also, for your viewing pleasure, rate them because we're nice like that. And we're going to put ourselves out there and we'll probably get absolutely destroyed and ridiculed in the comments.
Yeah, because I think SL models, more than anything else, is where you have humongous contrast in opinions.
Oh, yes.
Like there's certain boots where we can almost unanimously agree they're very good, but I think there's certain SL models that some people loved and some people just hated.
And that's just the thing with SL models, right? They are made to... Well, it's a niche product, right? It's made for one very specific thing, and that is to be super light, as the name suggests. And I'm kind of excited to see where this go. So we brought some Puma stuff.
Before we get started, though, you guys do enjoy the Boot Nerds podcast that we do on a weekly basis, most weeks. Please don't forget to support it with a like if you're watching on YouTube. If you are watching for the first time and you end up enjoying the podcast, if you could hit that subscribe button and the bell notification, that would be excellent. You'll get notified when the next episode goes up. Also, if you have any questions that you'd like us to potentially answer in the Boot Nerds podcast next episode, because we answer them in every episode, leave it down below in the comments. Also, it'd be really cool if you could leave your favorite SL boot of all time down below in the comments, along with why it's your favorite. That'd be cool to see as well.
And I think after you've watched this episode, there will be absolutely no doubt as to which boot is everyone's favorite, because there is absolutely no question here. But more on that later, because Josh, we brought some Puma boots, we brought a couple of Nike boots, we brought some Adidas boots, and then there will be, as I said, there will be some boots that none of us own or have available right here with us. Mm-hmm. So, where do you want to start? Puma, Adi, Nike?
Let's start Puma, because I feel like they were the first to the SL game for the most part. Or at least they went the hardest on SL models first. Am I wrong on that?
I think that the first SL model I remember was the Puma V1 SL.
That's what I remember too. That's why I'm saying this.
And I think that was probably the Legends, the Elites. That was later. When was it must have been right around the same time that Nike brought out the first Elite pack for the World Cup.
Oh,
but
so
we can always discuss.
Nike was first to SL game then.
Yeah.
Technically,
but I mean, I don't exactly remember which of the boots came first. But like a true SL boot, I think that is fair to say Puma. So we had the V110s and we had the V111s, which I have here, which in my opinion were a lot better than the V110s. Slightly smaller toe box, super thin. Wow, English. That was early. Super thin synthetic here. Very, very supple, very pliable, especially for a boot from 2011. Super thin tooling as well. Not that much of a snapback or anything, but it had a little bit of stiffness in the midfoot, and was this very like barefoot sensation. I'm wearing nothing on my foot with a little bit of like stability underneath. Super light, super impressive. I think these were like 140-ish grams. Like ridiculous
like
low.
For a boot at the time, that was really, really lightweight. I think I liked V110 more than I liked V111.
Really?
I think the upper on V110, it lacked structure, but it was so soft. That was a really nice synthetic that they never really used that often. But such a cool feel to both of those football boots. I guess if we're going to rate them out of 10, I think the V111 probably holds up better to today's standards than the V110 did. V110 is probably a 6 out of 10 realistically, because I think it's lacking in performance characteristics. I also remember that stud pattern not being all that great.
It's not very aggressive. No, it lacked a little bit of bite. That's one of the drawbacks of this particular model. I think I agree that I would bump down the V110 to a 5 out of 10. I wasn't it was super soft, but it just never really. It was kind of long and felt a little bit What do we say? Clumsy for such a thin boot, which is weird because of that toe box. I think this felt really nice, fun to wear, but in terms of lockdown and aggressiveness, it's a 7.5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I think it's a 7 out of 10, simply based on that synthetic material probably not being to the same standard as what's available now in synthetics, but still a really solid pair of football boots. And I like the fact that it's got that off-centered lacing system. I think that makes it different from a lot of other options.
Exactly. Really fun boot to wear. A couple of years later, we then had some interesting boots, not in the speed category. We actually had the Puma King Platinum SLs, which are these that are...
Was that Platinum or Finale?
Sorry, the Finale, yeah. I'm mixing. SL. Platinum is the current King. Sorry.
That's okay.
The King Finale, of course. So many names to juggle around here. Thanks for correcting me. The Finale SL, which was absolutely phenomenal in my book. It had a little bit of that, also bulky toe box that we saw all the way back to the King XL. I don't know if you remember that, but the leather on this is so phenomenally thin, and it's a comfortable yet very thin barefoot-like speed boot that had a comfortable tooling that wasn't necessarily the best in terms of being like a speed booty. But comfort-wise, not much to complain about, to be honest.
No, I think that was a really comfortable boot. I think it fit extremely well. I think looks-wise, that is one of my favorite Puma football boots of all time. Like, it's just so sleek. And they really did... I think if you look at that versus a regular King Finale, you think, they just eliminated the fold-over tongue and it still has the same sole plate. They actually put a lot of effort into that. The leather is super thin. The Puma Form Stripe is a really thin synthetic. I do remember that was one of those football boots that you'd play in, like, let's say 8 to 10 times, and they would really overstretch because of how thin the leather was. But the sole plate is not the regular King Finale sole plate. They've thinned it out despite looking the same. And I also remember, again, this is very dependent on playing surfaces, but at the time I was playing on a lot of harder ground. Stud pressure was a bit of an issue because the sole plate was so thin.
Yes.
But just an epic football boot in the right conditions when they were fresh. I'm going to rate those quite highly. I think those are an 8 out of 10. I would wear them now.
I agree. The only real downside to them for me was the overstretching of the leather. Lacked a little bit of lockdown. The heel was very slippery, and then of course the tooling for me, which wasn't the best. Then they made this one, which was the King SL2, I think it was called, back in the day, which was actually a synthetic leather. I think this came out in, was it 2012, 13?
Something like that. I want to say 13.
This was very interesting, completely unique tooling here. With like this nylon torsion bar in the middle, synthetic leather, super pointy, very, very speed boot like actually. Really interesting boot that to this day, I think I'm gonna pull him out and rock him again. because they're actually very nice.
Interesting. So you really like those ones?
I love them. I mean, they're synthetic leather, and that's not really king, is it? But hey, I mean, I'm not complaining.
Look, I think that boot fits well. It's fairly comfortable. I think it has all of the objective performance characteristics you would want from an SL model. It's super light, obviously, but I just thought that the synthetic in general was kind of lacking in terms of feel. Like it was one of those boots that for how thin it is, I'm like, this almost feels numb to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't love how they felt on the ball.
I actually thought it was a nice alternative to the V1 11 SLs because it had a little bit more of that solidity to it compared to the V11s. So yeah, I quite like these. From what I remember, at least these are at least an 8, maybe an 8.5.
Okay, I think I would be 6 out of 10 for me. I just didn't love how they felt. And I'm also thinking, I don't think we have it on either of our lists here, but was there not a second variation of a King SL that it was white, black, and orange, and it had this weird lacing system with like cables running through it?
That was the, you're right.
And I remember getting a pair, thinking, wow, those are so cool. Love the design. Think the way that they did the lacing is a little unnecessary. And then the first time that I wore them, one of the cables snapped internally and the whole boot was shot.
It wasn't called the SL, but I remember them. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I don't remember what it was called at all. It was very random. They did it. It was like an in and out really quick, but I don't even think it was a limited edition thing.
Do you remember? By the way, do you remember the King SL Classical, which was this, but just with that old King SL from the 2000s tongue and actually made in leather, which was also really nice, black and white.
SL Classical. Oh yes, I do remember that. I had a pair. Okay, yeah, those were also cool. I think that was a little bit better, but for some reason, I don't know. I don't think the shape of that boot agreed with my foot very well.
Oh, right. It was called the EverFit. The EverFit Plus.
EverFit. That's what it was.
Was that? Oh, that wasn't an SL model. Yeah, that was.
I remember it having an SL-like sole plate.
Yeah, that's true. It had the same tooling from this one. Yeah, that was a bit. It almost had like a V-construct like shape to the toe box. Pretty weird.
I am going down a rabbit hole of Puma SL models that I've completely forgotten about.
Yeah.
Like colorways even, like that King SL2 in like blue, dark navy blue with light blue and pink.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember that. Where was I?
Well, it's
been a long time.
They've done quite a lot. Yeah. Was that?
Moving on.
Yeah. So Puma kind of, did a new thing when they dropped the Puma EvoSpeed SL back in 2015. So this at the time was the lightest production boot to ever release. It wasn't the lightest football boot ever. That honor went to the Adidas 99-gram boot that they dropped as a concept in 2013 and then launched as a limited edition in 15. But this is one of the lightest boots ever to date to go into production. Super, super thin upper and this absolutely ridiculously thin outsole, which, it was a matter of just saving as much weight as humanly possible. I haven't worn these a lot and you can already see they've started to fall to pieces. And I think Puma said, you can wear them for 10 matches and then they're probably going to fall apart. And they cost an arm and a leg. So on the other hand, they were 102 grams and it was an experience to play in them because there was just nothing around your foot. Personally, I didn't like it. I preferred the SLS model when it came out because it was still super light, but just had a little bit more material in there.
Yeah.
There was just nothing in it. It was just like, it was very impressive, but there was just nothing of nothing.
Bold move from Puma to basically release a disposable football boot. And again, from an experience standpoint, there's really not much else quite like it. It feels like you aren't wearing anything at all, which is pretty cool. They also have this sense of danger about them where even when you kick a ball for the first time, you're like, oh my gosh, there's nothing on my feet.
This hurts, yeah.
This hurts, right? So imagine getting stepped on And again, the 10-game recommendation or warning that those boots came with, I think that was going to vary a lot depending on pitch conditions and just how big of a person are you? How much force are you putting into the boots? Like I got 3 wears out of a pair.
Okay.
And then I wore a second pair to see if it would be better, and I got 2 wears out of them. So it really just depended on, I guess, the pair you got. It was kind of luck of the
and if
draw.
you were unlucky with tackles and stuff, I had the brought out the EvoSpeed SL 2s. The pink and yellow black ones, and I managed to squeeze out six wears out of those. Yeah. And then someone came and studded me, and they were dead. They also did a leather version of it, which was I think 150 something, which for a leather boot. Was it less? 130?
It was less. Yeah, it was less expensive for sure. I can't remember what exactly the price was, but they were less.
I'm talking weight. Sorry.
Oh, wait.
I think it was 150 something. Really nice pair of boots. I mean, if it hadn't been for the tooling being too thin and stud pressure very, very evident, then these would, I mean, that upper is still to this day phenomenal. So definitely for me more wearable than the regular SLs, but yeah.
I forgot about those completely. But
the leather ones?
Those were, I completely forgot about them. But really cool boots. Yeah, and they fit pretty well, pretty comfortable. Yes. I like those.
So how do we rate these?
I love the experience of that regular SL model. I think it's so cool. And I think it's such a bold concept. I'm going to give them an 8 out of 10 just because I like seeing brands experiment and go through with their experimentation.
Sure. I think as an SL boot, and as a concept, it's an 8.5 out of 10 because they just took the concept, they ran with it, and they executed it to perfection. Performance-wise, I'm probably at 3 or 4 because it's too extreme for me.
Yeah.
So let's land at a 5.5, I think.
Yeah. And then the leather one for me, I really like them, but I would prefer to play in that King Finale SL. So I'm going to go 1 notch lower and say 7 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say 7 out of 10 as well. Am I? Yeah, I'm going to say 7 out of 10. It's just that tooling was it was raw. Yeah. It was raw.
And then I'm going to make a suggestion here. Do we just skip over everything else modern SL from Puma? Because they're pretty much all variations of that 2015 model.
There's the Ultra SL, which is just 92 grams, I think. Or 89, however little it is. It's just.
It's the same thing as what they did in 2015.
It's just even lighter and even thinner, and there's no structure. And if you like to play barefoot, just get this because there's nothing in it. But it's again, impressive nonetheless.
They don't give you the warning anymore, and I think that's a football boot that you can expect to last less than 10 wears.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that.
Be aware of that.
But hey, a boot like that.
They wanted to make the lightest boot ever made. They did it.
They went and did it.
Congrats to Puma, I guess. Moving on to Adidas. I want to start in, let's say, 2011 with Primes. Because the Prime was interesting. Obviously, they just released that remake of the Prime for the Champions League pack, which is cool, by the way. Mm-hmm. But 2011, they made this as like an extra level to the normal AdiZero 2. Completely new upper, slightly thinner, lighter, and was it the same tool? I think it's the same. Yeah, it's the same tool. It's the same
tooling, but they did the laser etching to eliminate probably half a gram.
Yes. And obviously we have that TPU band on the bottom as well to just give it a little bit more durability, lateral stability, all cool. And this was just it was fun. And back then it was completely groundbreaking, weighing 145 grams, I think, at the time.
I remember. I don't think it was much less than the regular synthetic F50 AdiZero.
I think it was 10 grams less. And then the Crazylight came in 2013 and shaved off another 10 grams, weighing 135. But these, very, very lightweight back in the day and a fun experience, but just, also maybe a little bit too thin for me. I was just lacking that little bit of hold, especially in the heel, that I would have wanted. But definitely a very wearable boot, still is today, and pushing the boundaries. I thought Adidas did back in the day. So
I always thought that was a cool boot. I had a pair back when it was a current model. That's right around the time I started SR4U, but I was still playing.
2011.
Yeah, so when you consider what the competitor was to that boot at the time in the Superfly 2, like that's a much better football boot.
Oh, it is.
Maybe it was Superfly 3 at the time. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
I would so much rather play in the F50 AdiZero Prime. And the funny part is I had made the transition from T90 Laser 3 into F50 AdiZeros, which makes no sense at all. But
no, it doesn't.
I loved the concept and the technicality of that football boot.
And it's just such a, an intricately detailed football boot. And having experienced it just again, obviously with the XB Flow tooling on, it's an enjoyable football boot as well. It has its flaws, but I'm going to rate these, especially because the AdiZero line as a whole just set the future for lightweight football boots with the half board lasting and all that, super thin sprint frame, all that stuff. Significance, this is a 9 out of 10 for me.
I was going to say the same thing. I think it's one of the most wearable of the early SL models.
Yeah, I agree. And, maybe I'm going to land on an 8.5, 9. A little bit difficult, but yeah, up in that territory. Mm-hmm. What else do we have? 99 grams. Should we just go over that?
Yeah, pretty much unwearable football boot that Adidas released as a PR stunt. If you ever had the opportunity to stick your feet in them and stand, I think they only made them in one size, right? So they only made them in a 9.
Yeah.
So that's a football boot where you can talk about the EvoSpeed SL and how thin those sole plates were. This is a sole plate that feels like it's crumbling underneath your feet. It has zero structure to it. It is an unwearable product simply to put out something to say we made the lightest football boot ever, even though it's not an actual product.
And for good reason, I have no idea what it's like to wear. So I can only say, cool story, bro, but, it was a concept boot and Puma made it happen. So nice, and you were first, but yeah. You should have brought it to market in 13 when it was a thing, a concept, and not in 15 as a limited edition and Puma came in.
It's not a real product, in my opinion. It's a 1 out of 10. I disliked that move. It's not good. Okay. It's not wearable, Jay. It's not. At least but you could wear.
This is 3 grams more.
Yes, but they actually sold it to people. They made it in all the sizes. They were honest in saying it's not going to last very long. And then Adi just goes, we're making one. It's only available in a size 9.
But they did it first, though. They did it first, to be honest. They did it at the Adidas the Innovation Lab in 2013. I was there in London, by the way. Mind-blowing stuff. I've never worn it, so for good reason I can't really properly rate it. But I'm like a 4.5, 5, because I thought it was cool because they were the first.
It's cool, but it's
Man, you're a grumpy old man today. So where do we go? adiPURE 4 SLs?
Okay.
One of my long-time favorite ever boots. It's such a, like an utterly fantastic boot. Upper from the adiPURE 4, but even softer, thinner, less foam. And then the tooling from the F50 AdiZeros. And what an absolute bomb of a combination. The upper has been streamlined, thinned. It's tighter fitting. I think it's 200 grams, and it's just everything you want in a football boot. It's
a really cool concept. Visually, I am a big fan of it. They never fit me well for whatever reason.
No.
I just found that when I tied the laces tight, it just looked goofy on my foot, and I could never get past that. And I always thought the tongue was way too padded.
Oh, I love that. I just got that comfort from the adiPURE, and then, the speed and the sleekness of the Zero. It was, my God.
Cool boot, though. And totally, I think I would like that boot more now than I did back when it was current.
Oh, yes. What's the rate?
8.5 out of 10.
Shut your filthy mouth.
What? That's high. That's one of the highest ratings I've given.
This is one of the best football boots ever made, man.
I can't go higher than that. 9.5. Okay, yes. Solid rating. We're gonna get to my favorite SL model soon enough.
Which is that one?
I can't tell you. We're gonna find
Crazy
out as
Lights.
we go on.
So Adi did 2013. We got the Adi F50 AdiZero Crazy Lights, which we obviously saw brought back on the Unisport memory lane F50s. Kinda, at least the design. Kinda. But yeah, they were groundbreaking as well, because they shaved 10 grams off the primes. And they also only made them in like super limited sizes, so I have never worn a pair. And I'm really mad because that Hypertouch SL upper, I'm hearing so many good things about it from people whose opinion I trust.
So you've never worn any of the Crazy Light stuff?
I've never worn any Crazy Light.
So this is interesting because my favorite SL boot of all time, you're currently holding in your hands. I love the Crazy Light Predator Instinct.
And I have worn that. And I've worn this. I just have never worn the AdiZeros.
Oh, the AdiZeros. Okay, well, you didn't miss out on much.
What, really?
Yeah, I didn't think the Crazy Light AdiZero was great because you had the shorter studs that were smaller, so the traction was just worse. Right. There was no way around that at all. And I think that the upper, while it was very nice from a touch perspective because it was so much more plush and soft, it lacked structure. So it was a football boot that, if you compared it to the 2014 F50 AdiZero at the time, I just think it was a worse variation of the product.
Interesting. Interesting.
A good boot overall, but you'd be much better off just buying the regular version. However, Predator Instinct Crazy Light. I love the Predator Instinct, but I think it had one of the clunkiest, poorly designed sole plates that Adidas has ever produced. The SL model completely fixed that, taking what was one of their best sole plates ever in the F50 from 2014. I think that the upper was thinned out a little bit. And honestly, we look at the Predator Freak and even the Predator 20 Mutator generation for the Demon Skin spikes. I think what they were doing there on the Predator Instinct is, I would argue, equally as good. And I kind of like the more focused striking element that you get across the top of the foot with that boot. It has a little bit more of a power boot vibe, which I think is true Predator. And that boot just fits great. It's super light. You get the extra grip. It is
so ugly.
It's super ugly. It's the worst colorway of all time. But I didn't even care. But it's so good that it was my boot of choice for probably an entire year in their pink.
Wow, okay.
Like, I would never wear pink boots, but I just love that model so much, and it's a shame we never got it in other colorways.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very enjoyable boot, and so is the AdiPURE Crazy Light, by the way, as well. Super, super padded.
See, and that's where I disagree with you. I did not like those.
Really?
I didn't think they fit all that well, and I didn't like, again, kind of like those King 2 SLs. I felt like touch on the ball was kind of just numb.
Oh, no. I completely disagree. I thought these were very, very nice. Hyper touch uppers, super padded, still very lightweight. It had that nimble sensation as well. I mean, they're ugly as hell, but I, from a playing point of view, I've really enjoyed these. So how should we rank the Crazy Light pack?
Crazy Light. Also, we should mention the Nitro Charge, which was a really cool Crazy Light variation as well. I don't know if you actually have those on hand. I have them somewhere, but because I am very poorly organized at the moment, I will not be having them. But basically what they did is they took the Nitro Charge, eliminated all of the protective and structure elements, but just filled it in with hybrid touch synthetic. But you still maintained the Energy Sling? Is that the name of the band?
Sling, yeah.
The these Energy Sling.
These were decent.
Those were really, really good boots. And there's a clip on Instagram that I've posted probably a good 400 times where I hit the most epic knuckleball of my life wearing that football boot. Nice. And I attribute all of that to the boots, of course.
Of course, the Energy Sling.
Also, actually a good-looking colorway out of that pack.
The best, first Crazy Light was pretty good for the F50 as well. But yeah, so rate the boots.
Predator Crazy Light, I'm giving it a 10 because it's genuinely one of my all-time favorites. I really like that. I love that boot. Crazy Light Nitro Charge, I really love those too. I'm going to give those a 9. And then Crazy Light 11 Pro, 5. I just didn't care for them.
And the Zeros?
And the AdiZero, I would say, let's say 6.5, because I feel like it just didn't perform nearly as well as the regular F50.
Okay, fair enough. Preds, I'm gonna give those an 8.5. Really nice. 8 for the Nitro Charges. Nay, 8.5. I love these as much as the Preds. Actually, a little bit better fit for me. Very, very fun to play with. Just the hybrid touch is such a great material, man.
Yeah.
These 8. And the F50s I can't really say. But I think from holding it in hand that I would have enjoyed it quite a lot. Of course, we should also mention like the adiPURE SLs, the Predator LZ SLs that I have never worn. Also didn't make it my size, so thank you, Adi.
Predator LZS. Oh yes, now
the adiPURE SLs. You remember they came out in all sorts of colorways. There was black and multicolor, I think, and there was also the LZ SL, I think.
Okay, adiPURE SL. Brief summary: kind of trash, honestly. Just basically not a Predator.
Okay.
pretty much like the F50 upper with the Predator sole plate, but I really wish they would have included an actual rubber element. Instead, it just had this like very thin texturing that wasn't at all like a Predator. Cool looking boot, not as comfortable, didn't fit as well, didn't really feel much like a Predator. Wearable, so I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay,
and then LZSL.
That was the one with the multicolor, the black one with the multicolor elements on.
That was an SL model?
It was.
It was an SL model. I forgot about those. But they weren't actual rubber elements again. They were just like little stickers that didn't really have much grip to them.
I think there were little rubber elements on. Just looking at your trusted... Yeah, there were rubber elements on.
So the original LZ SL, I don't have a good memory. But
some of them,
of
you're right. Some of the elements had been removed. You're right. Some of them were just painted on, but there were actual rubber elements there.
I guess I don't have a good memory of these because I feel like they took away hybrid touch with these SL models.
They did, yeah.
And it just was a more plasticky feel to the boot.
It was definitely
without really shaving all that much weight.
Thinner synthetic, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm gonna rate them 6 out of 10. LZ1, LZ2 SL.
Again, I've not tried them, but I've loved the look of those adiPUREs, and I love the adiPURE in general. So, I mean, from the looks of it and from what you say, I'm probably at a 7.5. I mean, these sound really nice for me.
Cool colorways for sure.
Cool colorways, absolutely. I would have rocked these. Hey, let's go 8, man. Maybe potentially even 8.5. I'm feeling these. Oh, LZ's 7. Okay, we also need to touch on this before we move on.
Okay.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Adidas 11 Pro 2 SL. So it is made with kangaroo leather, the finest kangaroo leather. It is made with a revamped midfoot and heel compared to the normal 11 Pro 2s, obviously. It has the sprint frame from the 2014 AdiZero, and it is close to being the perfect football boot that you can think of. This is probably, and I'm saying probably because it's a big thing, but this is probably the best football boot, or not the best football boot, but my favorite football boot I have ever worn. It does everything that I want.
Wow. Very, very strong words from JayMike.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Very nice. I agree with you. I think this is a really solid football boot. I think compared to the regular 11 Pro 2, which had this pretty thick memory foam padding to it, that, I don't know, that was a boot that while I liked them, I almost felt like it lacked balance. Like it was so thick through the toe box and forefoot and then thinned out along the sides and then had a really heavily padded tongue. It didn't have balance. And I think that the SL, the 11 Pro 2 SL simplified the boot quite significantly.
And it was leather.
And it had the tooling, the sprint frame from the 2014 F50. It's a really, really good football boot. It's ideally what you would want as a leather version of an F50 AdiZero. I can't quite go 10 because I don't like them as much as
Friendship over. This is the last episode.
I'm going to go 9.5, Jay. 9.5. We're very close.
Okay. You're only doing that for me. I know that. Just to avoid any... should we we haven't talked about this. Should we include the Morelia Neo 2 betas as a SuperLight version?
I think so. I think that counts as a SuperLight version. And just again,
these are awfully close to these. I'm just gonna put it out there. I mean, these are good, man.
See, and I can give those a 10, and I will give those a 10 because that's again one of those football boots that what a surprise. We've talked about it on the podcast. I don't know how many times at this point, but that boot has such an unbelievable feel on foot.
Agreed. I totally agree. Totally agree, man. It's unique. It's comfortable. Has the feel of a speed boot. It's just It's the package. Just not as padded and lovely as the 11 Pro SLs, the 2s. This is a 9.5 for me. Love them. Absolutely
also,
love them.
I'm just complete side note here, but I'm noticing I just searched 11 Pro 2, and it's a mixture of pictures of actual 11 Pro 2 football boots and 11 Pro iPhones.
Yeah, that was a stupid name in hindsight. Josh, we also agreed to just quickly touch on the Nike Elite models, which were not, at least by name, SL models, but still had that weight saving concept to them. They were introduced in was it late 2009 or early 2010 for obviously as a lead up to the World Cup? Must have been early 2010.
Yeah, some were 2009, some were 2010. So I think like early ones you're right.
It was pre-World Cup, obviously. They were for the World Cup. And then they made a lot of elite models after that. Also, these are just an example. And also, of course, the Jumbo Legend 4 Elite, which is a fine AF boot.
And some better than others. I was at the time when I was I would have been like 14, 15, maybe 16
you loved these,
at that time.
You loved
I'm not doing math. You know what? I really did love them and I had a pair. But if I'm being honest with myself now, the SL model didn't fit as well as the regular model did. And I think that was the story with a lot of the SL boots where they took this carbon fiber sole plate that kind of altered the shape of what those boots were originally intended to fit like. And I think other than maybe the CTR 360 variations, the T90 models and the Tiempo models did not fit as well in elite form as the regular ones did.
Mm-hmm. I agree. This was the only elite that really did like...
It was purposely built as an elite.
Yeah, something extra, and which was... I like the T90 elites as well, but this to me is just... This is like next level as it was supposed to be, especially because you paid an absolute premium for it. So I think these deserve like an 8.5 out of 10. The others, it varies from like 6 to... I thought the Jumbo Legend 3 elites were absolute rubbish, Kangalai.
Yeah, no leather. And here's the thing about Nike. Look, Nike's marketing is brilliant. I think the Elite Series is proof of that, in that they managed to take their already expensive boots, which probably would have been like between $200 and $230 at full retail at the time, and up the price to $350 for an elite model to add a carbon fiber sole plate that I think in best case scenario, depending on which model it was 10% lighter than the regular model. So we're talking like you save 15 to 20 grams, which is not a very noticeable amount of weight.
True.
It just, they were cool as a concept, but not exactly that effective in terms of improving the boot and certainly making them feel lighter.
Agreed. So that was our list. Are we missing?
We are skipping over Vapor. We've missed some Nike models. So
yes,
very first Nike SL model would have been 2007, 2008 in Vapor 4 SL. Did that come before Carbon SL? I want to say it did.
I think...
Yes, because...
Yes, it did.
Because original Vapor 4...
Yes.
...was available with an SL sole plate, which had a weird... Like, they were very scarcely released. Okay, so... This was an interesting one, because when Vapor 4 launched, obviously people were very kind of... There were mixed opinions out there online, and you have to keep in mind that the internet was still young in terms of the presence of football boots, but There were people that were more kind of hung up on the fact that the Vapor has this large Nike swoosh all of a sudden. They added a lace cover. It was a big departure from what the Mercurial series had turned into with Vapor 1, 2, and 3. And Cristiano Ronaldo, who is an icon and was an icon back then, everybody wanted to be Ronaldo back in 2008. He wore the regular model. I think did Ronaldo ever play in the SL version of the Vapor 4?
Nope. Not to my knowledge.
He never did, right?
He never did.
So all of the marketing attention was on the regular model, but then this SL version was out there and some pros wore them. And I just remember seeing those as a kid and thinking that is the coolest looking football boot of all time.
I agree.
Just wicked.
These were amazing, man. I even at one point considered painting my regular Vapor 4s black on the tooling just to make them look like these. And I actually preferred these over the normal ones because they had a little less, it felt like the last was different. So they had a little less pressure on top of the foot, which is something I hated the 4s for. So very good. And I think the Mercurial SLs came out before these, which obviously, with the carbon tooling and all. Obviously I've never worn those either.
Yeah, me neither. But I think what's cool about these is they were rare. Like you weren't going to see another pair of them in the wild.
Yeah.
And
there were a lot.
I think they actually improved the Vapor 4 concept.
Yes.
The Vapor 4, like the Vapor 3, and like a lot of early Mercurials, were known for those blister pads on the back of the heel. And for whatever reason, on the SL model, those blister pads were not as effective in tearing the skin off the back of your heel. I don't know why.
Exactly.
But I think your heel sat a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and also the foot wasn't as fixated as they were in the original 4s.
Yeah.
The original 4s were rubbish,
cool
Josh.
Boot.
Let's just be honest. And these were great. This is what the 4s should have been. This was effectively, in my head at least, the first Superfly Nike ever made.
But we also have to, Jay, while they were great, they were not durable. This was the first carbon fiber sole plate from Nike, and the durability sucked. They would crack right down the middle quickly. Because I remember I had a regular pair of Vapor 4s, suffered through the blisters, ended up returning them because they had that cat pee smell that Nike had as an issue with a lot of their shoes. Got a new pair of Vapors, and then at that point, it was like most of the way through the run of Vapor 4s, and you could get the early SL colorways on sale. Finally got a pair, wore them twice. Sole plate crack, sent them back, and Nike warranty did not have any SLs to send me. So that was that. I had my dream football boots for roughly like 3 days.
Oh, wow.
Which sucked. But they were a great experience.
All right, yeah. Okay. Well, that's a bad story. I'm sorry to hear. But how would you rate them since you had the chance to play with them?
They're just
those two sessions.
I don't know if it's just because of like what they were for me as a kid, but it's still in my head one of the coolest football boots of all time, and I do have fond memories of them. Realistically, it's probably a 7.
Okay.
But in my head, I'm bumping it to a 9.5 because I just
from memory, I would say that these are like 6.5, 7, because they do have some of the issues that the Vapor 4s had, and I didn't like those very much. So let's be fair and say 7. I think that's only right. Merc SLs are also like an honorary 10 because they were just so flipping cool. I never wore them, and they weren't very good to wear because they looks and in hand they feel stiff AF. But I mean, 10 just because.
You're right. Cool factor 10.
Yeah.
And all I can think about that boot is when people realized that was going to be like an all-time crazy football boot for Nike, because you have to remember those were $400 retail at the time.
Yeah.
Limited edition, 2008 pairs total for the FG model, and then there was apparently like 100 soft ground ones or something like that.
Yeah, something.
They sat on shelves for quite a while, like a solid year to year and a half. Some people were lucky enough to scoop them up on sale. I almost bought a pair, but then I thought to myself, I would end up wearing them and wrecking them because I would go on eBay and see some of the used pairs that were for sale, and you could see the upper, like all the carbon threads would just rip apart, and it was not a boot that was actually meant to be worn.
Look good used. No.
And I would be, honestly, like looking back, I would be so upset if I had a pair that I wore like once and just ruined.
Yeah.
But such a cool boot. You're right. 10 out of 10 in terms of cool factor.
Just let's end with that 10 out of 10. And, you know, guys, we probably missed a couple of boots. I wouldn't put that past us. I can't think of many right now. Josh, any...
There's some SL models from like random brands. Like Pantofolo has a Superleggera model. But that's... if you just call it SL and it's the only one, is it really an SL model?
It's lighter, right? Do you have it? I don't have it.
It's light. I have one right here.
Oh, let's discuss it.
So,
I mean, it's an SL.
Very, very old school, full leather upper, very wide, right? High volume.
Yeah.
For a boot that has so much padding to the leather upper, the heel liner has no padding at all, so you sit directly against hard plastic, which I've never been a big fan of. But the tooling is very lightweight, despite looking quite old school, and the boots as a whole are light. They're cool. If you want that kind of old school experience, but something that just doesn't feel like 1,000,000 pounds on your feet, I guess that's what this is for.
They're not too bad.
But I wouldn't rate them very highly.
They just overstretch in the lockdown is a problem for me, at least. So I'm going to say like a 5 out of 10. It's nice, and I had expected and hoped for better because there was really some potential in there with, you know, that Pantofolo leather love, right? But just didn't cut it for me.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I think 5 out of 10 is right about where they should be.
Yeah. Sorry, Pantofolo. Or how would you say that in Italian? Pantofolo d'oro.
I think it's Pantufolo.
No, 100%.
I think so.
100%.
Are you? I've had an Italian person tell me that's how you say it.
Wow. Okay. Then I have been misinformed my entire life, also by people working for the brand. But let's.
Okay. Well, then you're right. I'm gonna believe you.
Italian people in the comments explaining to us how to say Pantofolo d'oro, Pantofolo, or Puntafili d'Urara.
I don't know.
No, exactly.
I don't know.
Let's not go there.
There's so many brand names that the internet claims I can't say properly, so I'm not even going to start on this one. Well, that's
because you cannot say them properly, my friend. I like you very much, but you really suck at brand names. So we're still working on that. I think, Josh, we have a lot of actually nice questions here, but we have a lot of them. So I'm thinking we save those for next week because we've been rambling on for 50 solid minutes, and we would go way over time by answering all these questions. So I know you said in the beginning of the video that we answer all the questions in every video. That's almost every video because we're going to save the questions for next time. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask us in the Q&A deluxe that we're going to do next time, leave them in the comment section right down below. Also, do tell us what your favorite SL boot ever made is in the comments, and make sure you subscribe to the channel with the notifications on if you have done so. If you haven't done so already, you can go follow us on our regular day-to-day shenanigans over on our other channels. And with those words, I've been JayMike, and I approve this message.
Thanks for watching.
Ciao, Bella. Pantofola punti falli falli. Whatever you say.